The Asari. One can't conceivably talk of Mass Effect without mentioning this ubiquitous race. Many unaware players will simply know them as the blue ladies with tentacle hair and a superiority complex, and whilst they're not technically incorrect, they might as well be calling sushi a ball of rice with stuff inside. As we say every week, there's so much more to this species than meets the eye. A tired platitude to be sure, but this isn't an English literature course, so let's get to know about the Asari. Resembling humanoid females with blue skin and, for lack of a better term, tentacle-like fringe covering their heads, the Asari are the most human-looking of the known alien species. Some say the Quarians may bear a closer resemblance due to them having body hair. However, the Asari skeletal structure resembles that of a human much closer than a Quarian skeleton does. This is most notable in the number of fingers and toes, as well as the shape of their legs, with Asari having 5 of each digit. However, the Asari lifespan can reach up to 1,000 years of age in some cases, which far exceeds the humans as well as most other species. Despite their close resemblance to humans, the Asari are known to be attractive to virtually every race. This may be due to different characteristics being more attractive to some species than others. For instance, many Turians will insist the Asari's head fringe makes them look more like Turians than humans, whereas Solarians tend to find the skin colour more alluring. Their attractiveness reaches outside the Mass Effect universe as well, as evidenced by the time it took to find suitable images to aid this video before we finally turned Safe Search on.
I'd like to try out your services.
Excellent! I'll add you to our client list. We should be able to see you in 3 or 4 months.
This multi-species attractiveness is not without purpose, however. Asari biology is unique in that it allows an Asari to mate with any known species and gender. This is aided by the fact that Asari reproduction has a much more neurological base than most races. Intimacy is achieved through the melding of nervous systems rather than a transfer of fluids. Through this process, genetic information is passed. If an Asari melds with another species, the Asari is always the one to bear children from the union, and the offspring is always another Asari, since only minor genetic traits are obtained from the father. With 2 Asari, the one who gives birth is the mother, whilst the other is the father. This is contrary to same-sex relationships in human culture, in which the title of mother or father is based on the individual's gender. So speaking of gender, there has been much debate on how to classify the Asari in terms of gender. From a human perspective, they all physically resemble females, but the more official story states they are a monogendered species bearing typical female characteristics. Both views have merit. Asari refer to each other with feminine identifiers such as she, her, etc. However, since the concept of gender stems from sexual reproduction, the monogendered argument holds water as well. Their use of the term mother and father may seem to some as an indication of gender identity, but the titles merely refer to the individual's role in the birthing process, and an Asari is biologically capable of being a mother or a father.
You mean you were her other mother, right?
No, I didn't pop her out. Hell, she never even met me.
Sorry. If you were human, you'd both be called the mother, regardless of which one gave birth.
Well, I'm not human, am I? Anthropocentric bag of dicks.
The Asari hail from the planet Fessia, a planet rich with element 0, causing for all life to exhibit biotic capabilities. During the time of the Protheans, the Asari were deemed worthy to be aided, and thus was born the legend of the Goddess of Fame, an identity crafted by the Protheans to ease their efforts in advancing the Asari civilization. Through a fame, the Protheans gave the Asari technology and other gifts, including genetic modification, which allowed for more potent biotic abilities. When the Protheans left Fessia, they left behind a Prothean beacon containing a wealth of knowledge. This beacon, named Vendetta, is kept in the Temple of a Fame on Fessia. The Asari use this knowledge to advance their own civilization, all the while taking the credit for any advancement the beacon have provided. Thanks to this aided advancement, the Asari were the first of the current known species to achieve spaceflight, as well as the first to discover the Citadel, joined by the Solarians 60 years later, both races came together to form the Citadel Council. When venturing onto the Citadel, the Asari came first across the Keepers, who helped keep and settle the Asari in to manage the Citadel. During the events of the war against the Reapers, the Asari were one of the more reluctant races to give support to other races, for the reason of not wanting to remove resources away from their home planet. Unfortunately, this decision was deemed pointless, as the Reapers slaughtered the Asari's defense upon arriving on Thessia, a planet that hadn't been attacked since the time of the Rachni Wars. So you probably noticed that after this, the Asari joined the war efforts in retaking Earth shortly after the fall of Thessia. One of the most notable aspects of Asari culture also crosses over into the biology department. Asari have 3 stages in their lives. First of all is the maiden stage. This stage begins at puberty, and most Asari that you encounter, whether it be dancers, mercenaries or otherwise, are in this stage. The maiden stage is characterized by a desire for exploration and to experience as much as possible. After the maiden stage comes the matron stage. Beginning around the age of 350, the matron stage includes a marked decrease in the desires of the maiden stage and an increased willingness to settle down and start a family. Finally, the matriarch stage starts in the vicinity of 700 years. Asari at this age tend to use their experiences to help the community and become paragons of wisdoms to those around them. Due to their long lifespans, Asari tend not to view life in such an urgent manner as shorter-lived species like the humans. This makes them a patient species and in turn makes some view them as having a rather cold viewpoint. For instance, when an Asari enters a relationship with a human, it isn't seen as a particularly long-term commitment. The human may seem it as a lifelong journey, but even if they stay together for 70 years until the human dies, the Asari could still be considered young by the end, and would most likely find another relationship eventually. Because of this, some Asari don't see relationships with other species as that big a deal, even if they're willing to stay together for decades. However, this does not mean the relationship means nothing to them. They have simply learned to enjoy the time they have together rather than dread the inevitable tragedy. Perhaps the most notable aspect of Asari culture also has a basis in biology. There exists a genetic defect in some Asari that makes them incredibly dangerous. These Asari are called the Ardat Yakshi. Due to this defect, whenever they meld with another, Asari or otherwise, their partner's nervous system is overloaded and essentially burns out, effectively killing them. Since this defect is more common in unions between 2 Asari, they are encouraged to mate outside of the species as much as possible. This is due to the fact that any child born of an Asari union will always be Asari. Because of this, any genetic diversity is welcome, except for, that one thing. Then there are the Justicars. 1 part scary, 1 part crazy, all parts tough cookie. The Justicars adhere to a strict code, and only a few can handle the lifestyle. Any Asari who joins the order sacrifice their worldly possessions and travel throughout Asari space correcting any injustices they see with brutal efficiency. The Asari military is formidable. Because of their long lifespans, many Asari think nothing of spending 10 to 20 years just for training in martial and military arts. As a result, Asari commandos are renowned for being among the fiercest fighters in the galaxy. Many a tale have been told of small commando units annihilating much larger enemy forces without losing a single soldier. The Asari know they would not likely win a battle with brute force, so most choose to focus in more subtle ops such as assassination, infiltration and guerrilla warfare. Their biotics aren't anything to sneeze at either. The Asari are beautiful and deadly and in more ways than one. Regardless of how they rose to power, they've been around. If there's ever a seniority rule, it should always favour the Asari, and if there's ever a galactic civil war, let's just hope they take prisoners. The Asari are a popular race amongst fans, and play one of the largest roles in the Mass Effect galaxy, hence causing for there to be many notable members of this race. Some of which include Dr. Liara Tassoni and Samara, being the 2 squad mates that can assist Shepard across the 3 games. Aria T'Loak, known as the boss, CEO, or queen if you're feeling dramatic, of Omega, became a favourite for her dominative power on Omega, and due to her also being a temporary squadmate in Mass Effect 3's Omega DLC. My final shout out goes to Tila Visir, an Asari Spectre and powerful biotic who plays a large part in both the Mass Effect Foundation comics and Mass Effect 2's Liara the Shadowbroker DLC. So what do you think of the Asari? Are you happy to see them more than just Mass Effect's answer to the green alien girls trope? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, as well with any suggestion you'd like to see for the next lore video. And while you are there, why not give this video a like if you enjoyed, and maybe subscribe to us here at MassEffectFollower for more upcoming Mass Effect content. But until then, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye everyone.
What kind of guns does this thing have?
It's a taxi. It has a fare meter.
Wonderful.